Very good question. Um, Many international schools do not practice service learning, and I feel it's one of the qualities that we have in our curriculum now. It wasn't here a few years ago, but we decided to put some resource into this. The value of it, especially in a school where all of us have so many privileges, is it's our opportunity to return some of the benefits that we gain in living in these privileged societies, both to the community in terms of community service, but also to our own learning, to get a fusion between learning inside the classroom and being of benefit to the wider community through service learning. And the community doesn't have to only be the school. Obviously, we've had community service and service learning projects in India, in Tanzania, and also in Thailand. So that's an aspect of service learning. There's also a service learning component within our curricula, and there are several areas where teachers have shown great interest in including some service learning outcomes in their teaching. So I think in this school we've tended by tradition to see service learning as being trips during vacations to exotic lands where we contribute to the local community in some way or another. Added to that, preparation ahead of time by the students and afterwards. And that's all part of it, but that's only one particular model that has evolved in this school. And there are other models of service learning. But we would like all of our students to have, when they come to graduate, to have had some experience of service learning. I think that is probably better answered by those students and teachers who've been on these trips, especially those students, but more so the teachers who go back year after year. We've had many teachers on the trips, but we've also had a number of teachers such as Miss Erickson, Mr. Bouchard, and Miss Middle School Dutch teacher, Miss de Vries, Cheryl de Vries, who have been on these trips a number of times. And it'd be very interesting to get their feedback. I certainly speak with all the teachers after they return, the trip leaders, and get feedback. And it's always very positive. If the question is, do we get more from it than they get? And is this just dropping a stone into an ocean? Well, I think every little bit that we can do does help. And I think it makes us, as a community, a better community by participating. And I firmly believe, based on all the feedback I get, that we do contribute. Do we contribute hugely? Maybe not. But that we contribute is more important. We're trying to instill the notion of service in the school, and quantifiably, there's lots that we could do which would have perhaps a greater lasting impact on both individuals in the school and also local and communities if perhaps we got involved in more local or even regional community service projects. Doing them at such a distance means that it's very much the one shot. Now, in preparing and everything after the trips, we do a lot more than that, but as far as the community in India, Thailand and Tanzania is concerned, they see the group arrive once a year. And it's a completed group in that they've raised money and they're prepared, but it's just the one shot deal per year as far as that community is concerned, yes. I am very excited about the prospect of that. I've been in schools that have a week without walls. Before I came here, our family were in Budapest, and one of my responsibilities was to organise the 10th grade trip from Budapest, Hungary to Krakow in southern Poland. And in that week we did both outdoor activities, which involved a lot of bonding of the new group of 10th graders that would join us, plus all sorts of leadership opportunities, there was also a cultural and a historical part because we were very close to Auschwitz-Birkenau, and we did a number of activities associated with that. So in principle, I don't think there's a school or an educator around the world who believes that students would not benefit from a week without walls, education outside of the campus. 5 years ago when I came here, we didn't have a field trip. Now it's an established tradition. We started with a half a day and it became a whole day, and now usually it's the second or third Friday when we get back, we all head off to these wonderful events and students enjoy it, benefit from it. So that took a little bit of time to organise, and it will take even longer probably to plant the seed and get support and organisation and budget in place for a week without walls. However, there's a cost. There's always costs when we make choices. So while there would be many, many benefits that this provides students, unquestionably, and I don't think anyone would deny it, what are the costs of being out of school for a week? As an ex-IB teacher and an AP teacher, I would have to say that I would be concerned with the amount of time that is lost to the curriculum. And I have to respect the fact that teachers are concerned about loss of instructional time. Students and parents would be concerned if opportunities to attend universities through AP scores, through IB scores, were going to be reduced should we close school effectively for the week of Thyman. It's got a lot of possibilities that week, and perhaps some of our service learning trips could go out that week. But it is a very large project to undertake, because the number of students, for instance, who go on these service learning trips, we're only talking about approximately 50 students of a high score of 375. So even if we were to increase the number of our students who went on these trips, what do we do with the rest of them? What are the projects going to be? What would the activities be? How do we decide that? How do we budget for it? But it's a great question, and it's one I've just certainly discussed with other teachers, and most people love the idea, but most people are also concerned. Gosh, are we going to get behind? And is the pressure on students after that week going to be really huge? And is that a price worth paying? So there's swings and roundabouts on this. There's a balance between the two sides, and I would certainly value more discussion with people about the benefits it provides, yes. Thank you, good question, and I can clarify that for you. The model that I described at the beginning of our commitment to service learning is going to change. Our commitment to service learning is not changing. In fact, if anything, it's going to increase. But we're going to look more for a model of service learning and community service more locally, both within this area, within the Netherlands, and within the region of Europe. The school has supported both releasing the students and teachers often ahead of time, and also contributing a fair amount of money to the trip to ensure that the chaperones typically are covered by the school. However, that budget, we are probably going to look for next year and for future years at using it more locally to support more. The reality is that instead of having, let's say, 50 students a year connect and commit with service learning trips, we would like many times that number to be connected with it, and therefore we would like to spread our efforts and activities to more local, regional areas. It does not mean that the 3 service learning trips will stop, but it does mean that our involvement as a school, administrative support for them, is still there, but we won't be able to finance them in the way that we've done it before. The teachers and the teacher leaders and chaperones of these 3 trips have been so committed to the whole notion of service learning that I think that their continuation in some form, either with the same people or with others, may continue, but they're going to be more independent of ASH. They will be, if they continue in their present form, we would love to still continue to support them, advertise for them, but they will be more voluntary trips, with teachers stepping up to lead them and designing and planning their own trips. And the model of a service learning trip to these three areas could continue, or it may morph into something else. But know that service learning does continue, but it's going to be focused more in this area, and we want more and more of our students involved in service learning.